What's up, guys? Welcome back to the That's Sowdev podcast. My name is Dev. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I appreciate you. We got some tea to get into today. But before we get into this tea, make sure you go ahead and follow me at That's Sowdev on Twitter, Instagram, and literally child everywhere else. Especially YouTube. We kind of popping over there, okay? Now, for the tea. Welcome! This is the first episode to Keeping Up with Fifth Harmony on the That's Sowdev podcast. I am ecstatic. I cannot explain to you how excited I am now. So this episode is laying out the work, right? So we're essentially mapping out how this is going to work, what we're going to talk about, and blah, 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 blah. Each episode is going to talk about something entirely different, right? And when I say entirely different, I mean a different section that we're going to focus on with Fifth Harmony. But I am going to start from the very beginning. I really want to have this podcast be a gradual revelation, so to speak. You know what I mean? Hey, come on now. It's giving a religious experience. No, I'm kidding. But no, seriously. I'm genuinely so excited for the journey. Because starting from X Factor, going all the way to that hiatus, and, probably even following that. But as of right now, we're focusing on right now in this moment, this current first season of Keeping Up with Fifth Harmony on the That's Sowdev podcast, y'all. And I just want to go ahead and say this. Buckle your motherfucking seatbelt. Because we're talking about everything. We're going to be talking, everything. And look. Just so y'all know, if you are a Fourth Harmony girl, we will be talking about Camila, okay? We're going to be talking about things as they happened, okay? Genuinely going in a row. So don't expect the first couple episodes or whatever to be talking about, like the back end or the split or whatever. We're going to take our time getting to that, okay? So we're going to have about 8 to 10 episodes per season. So essentially, let's say we have about 8 episodes this season, right? So this starts on November 1st. So that means the season finale would run about January 31st, I want to say, or something like that. So, just so you guys are aware of how this is going to happen, I did, a vote whether or not people want to do weekly or bi-weekly, and everybody voted weekly. I didn't expect that. And I was like, girl, you know what? No. So we're going to do bi-weekly every 2 weeks. I'm very, and I've said this a billion times already, but I'm really, really excited about this podcast because, for one, if you know me, I love Fifth Harmony down. There's so much to talk about, and I feel like nobody's really talking about Fifth Harmony or their experience in the industry, even though it is a prevalent experience that artists face on a regular basis. So it's just weird how people like to use past experiences and whatnot and apply them to now on how they should move within the industry. And they do that by telling those horrible experiences that they've seen with other artists or that they've had, and the only person that's really spoken up about Fifth Harmony's experience was their lawyer. Now, their lawyer, Dina LaPoe, which we all know got Tupac's music from Death Row, right? So it's time to talk about the experience. I did what happened to Fifth Harmony on my newest YouTube channel. On my old one, I did, what was the other one? I don't remember what the name of that video was, but literally every single year over the next 3 years, I was getting comments. Where's the next one? Where's part 2? Where's so I just went ahead and did a part 2 on the newer channel. And then now I'm kind of come on. I feel like enough time, for one, has passed with Fifth Harmony for a lot of us to even be able to look back at a lot of the situations that we already know and still view it a bit more differently with more context as well. So I'm also really excited about that because it's stuff well, we already know that happened, but looking at things from the perspective now, 1, hearing their story, 2, seeing how far they've come, 3, seeing how they are moving in their careers, there are a lot of things, a lot of context that I feel like really does fit into the Fifth Harmony narrative and really makes you think like, oh, like, you know, this happened. This actually happened. This was blah, 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 blah. So we're going to uncover all of that, period. Now, I'm going to say, obviously, we're going to start off with X Factor, which I'm going to talk about X Factor a bit in this podcast, actually, before, you know, the next episode when we really get into stuff. But, you know, Fifth Harmony was formed in 2012. And mind you, I was a senior. If I'm not mistaken, it was that summer of 2012, right? Obviously, we know 7/27. Actually, no, I'm thinking about when X Factor itself started, not when Fifth Harmony was formed. So it had to have been. That means, yeah, probably. That means they most likely, before I was even a senior in high school, they had tried out for X Factor. Now, X Factor being becoming its own thing after American Idol was essentially almost running its course with the original run for the show. You know, that's when my mom had introduced me to X Factor. I didn't know what it was, but Simon Cowell was on it, you know, singing competition. It was the thing. It was the thing at the time, right? So I'm just minding my business. I'm watching X Factor, and then boom, I literally came across Normani, Lauren, and Dinah. I wish I could make this shit up to you, but I saw Normani, Lauren, and Dinah, and it's the oddest thing in the fucking world where it's like, I've seen that person, and the next thing you know, I don't know, like, they're just in this group, and it's so crazy because it really is fate how Fifth Harmony worked out. All the cards really just kind of aligned in that moment. I mean, Lauren and Camila met each other first, Dinah and Normani met each other first, like, you know what I mean, before they even were in a group. So just the fact that they were put together, it just seems like the fan experience was like, oh wow, like, I remember them, and now they're in this group, and it, girl, the entire Fifth Harmony experience, I feel like overall was just meant to be. It was fate. Whether you're talking about the fans, whether you're talking about the group, whether you're talking about the impact or the road that they paved that people don't like to admit. So, with that being said, y'all, I think that X Factor, not even X Factor, I'm going to say Fifth Harmony. Fifth Harmony changed the way that people view girl groups, because Fifth Harmony from the very jump in X Factor, they tried out as individuals, and they stood on that the entire run of their career. They tried out as solo artists. They were solo artists before they were in a group. They are a manufactured group. So that means you put a group together, they're not just going to magically have some sort of blend, right? Like, and look, okay, so this isn't shade, but when I look at Little Mix, when I looked at them, like, before being put into a group and then after, it makes sense for them to be put into a group. When I looked at them, they looked like they needed to be in a group. When I looked at Fifth Harmony, they looked like they needed to be individuals, right? But the thing about Fifth Harmony is that they had a natural bond. So that natural bond, it literally just kind of built that energy. They didn't have, well, we grew up together, so we naturally have this chemistry of growing up. They grew up and they had this bond where they were kind of a unit together, but they all also understood that they were individuals. And I feel like that shit, like, really kind of showed. Like, I'll give you a prime example. So let's say, like, even during the choreography that Sean Bankhead had, okay, so look, because before Boss, they didn't have Sean Bankhead as a choreographer, and you could tell. Now, after they got Sean Bankhead as a choreographer, you started to see them dance, but individually. They do the same choreography, but not the same way. They do it in their own unique style. So it's giving unity. We're doing the same thing, but we're given our own styles. And that's just really what Fifth Harmony was the entire run. And I think that Fifth Harmony was misunderstood from the very jump, because when you look back at certain situations, like Britney Spears had no idea why Fifth Harmony would make it. L.A. Reid was even like, they're not a group. Like, you know what I mean? They don't have what a group is known to be. But what people also know a group to be at the same time is where one person is really leading and shining. But the thing about Fifth Harmony is that they each individually could carry their own. And I don't think as a group that sat right with people, because that was in the forefront. More of them, and people also have to think like, okay, this group doesn't naturally have a blend, so we do have to put the harmonies in where they are actually complementary, while also at the same time giving each individual girl their own space. The line distribution on X Factor was very, very good, and they really put that in the forefront, so every girl got a chance to sing. And sometimes, honestly, them doing a harmony or a blend, so to speak, would take away from it. And I think that that's the biggest thing about Fifth Harmony, actually, is that when you saw Fifth Harmony on stage, you saw Fifth Harmony as the group, but you saw each individual girl. You saw each individual girl. And that's really not something like, because in a girl group, it's easy for somebody to look at one person, but everybody's looking at somebody different. And typically, like when you have an album or something, if everybody has a different favorite fucking song, it's a great album. So when I just look back at, L.A. Reid and Britney Spears, their reactions and whatnot to, Fifth Harmony make it to the finals, or just doing whatever kind of successful venture that they did on X Factor, it was kind of like, this, looking back on it now, it definitely 110% makes sense to me. It does, because they were shifting a narrative that a girl group has to be this, 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 and this. They created their own. They had their own style. And, girl, it has opened the doors for even groups like Boys World. That is the first one that does come up to my mind. Like, because there are several different styles. When you look at Flow, in some ways, you can see where the influence of that group had come from, but also at the same time, you see a very classic group. You see a TLC, you see a Destiny's Child inspiration. They're in many different aspects of that as well. But what I also did love about Fifth Harmony is that they gave also inspiration from several different groups, but made that their own. I mean, genuinely, when I looked at Fifth Harmony, I did think about the Pussycat Dolls, because I don't know girl groups, looking back, what girl groups was genuinely dancing like that. And it's not to say that they weren't dancing, because they were. They definitely were. But the way that Fifth Harmony was just coordinated on that stage, from the point of, okay, we have 5 girls, so what we're going to do, one in the middle when they're singing their main chorus, vocal, whatever, right? And when it's somebody else's turn, we're going to transition. But it's the way that the transitions were just so smooth, clean, into the chorus, into the verse, into whatever it was. Fifth Harmony just had such tight transitions and intricate choreography to where I don't think we've seen that experience specifically from a girl group. From the Pussycat Dolls, everybody knew Nicole. Name the other bitches. I'm sorry, they not bitches, but you know what I mean. The word bitch just come out of my mouth. I'm a bitch. Be so fucking for real. Anyway, but like, come on now, you know what I mean? Only one in the forefront. And I think that people people hated that Fifth Harmony was a group, but also individuals. If you look at even their pictures, it's so funny because there's a picture of them, I think, at the Billboard Music Awards where Camila is a little bit further off. And everybody's like, when you're a group, but also an individual, honestly, that is the tea. That is what Fifth Harmony is. There's no point in lying. Okay? And it really started with X Factor. X Factor really gave Fifth Harmony that path to take, because X Factor did another thing for them, and it helped them build that inbuilt fan base. They already had a built-in fan base by the time they was going into their EP. And I mean, aside from the contracts, which are very, very nasty, and we will get into that at some point. But again, aside from the nasty motherfucking contracts, y'all, it's that the game shows, I guess if you want to call it a game show, competition show rather, the competition shows, it puts them on a platform for everybody to see. So Fifth Harmony is coming off of a show where people have to go out of their way and vote. So Harmonizers was born literally on 7/27. Literally, Harmonizers was born that same day, because there's no way in hell that group would have went forward without Harmonizers. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way, and there's no way if the judges had an opportunity to save them that they would have. The judges, like, the only person that saw, and that's what blows my fucking mind, but it doesn't. Because Simon Cowell does know talent. He can be a very nasty man. Let's not sit up here and lie, because there's a list, and we will get to that later on. But it's just the fact that he saw that in the group. He saw it in the group, but also Simon is a businessman. So at the same time, while he may see this group that actually is so chilling, what girl groups produce, and people genuinely just overlook this, especially labels, girl groups are an investment. A group is an investment. Imagine if a label had One Direction, had Fifth Harmony, and had Little Mix invested in each girl and guy individually, but also them as a group, allowing them to grow individually and as a group. So not only is the group growing and also bringing you in more funds, because obviously that's what you want, right? But also at the same time, you're going to invest in talent. You're going to get a return of all of these artists when they go solo. So I'm really not understanding what in people's mind didn't think, okay, these are 5 strong singers, and when they come together in a group, they bring a very powerful performance, which really makes the people get up, to the point to where everybody's like, no, this group has it, you're dumb. And the judges are sitting up there on the panel like, well, what the hell? We got everybody and their moms on this stage that we think is good, but this group is out here winning. Now, baby, tell me, Fifth Harmony got 3rd place. Who won and who was 2nd? Well, anyway, bitch, just saying, there's that. So, yeah, I find it a bit hilarious, because when you think about it also, look, this is a singing competition, right? But what helped them wasn't necessarily just the talent, even though they had the talent, right? So Fifth Harmony is really smart. They played this so fucking smart, because the easiest thing for you to do is to create a social media account, and while you're on a platform, help build a fan base that is going to vote for you. They started that instantly. So I don't know who it was that's like, let's create the social media, boom, 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 boom. But they did everything right in the time that they needed to in order to grow that fan base, because they grew a fan base individually and they grew it on that Fifth Harmony account. And the Fifth Harmony account interacted with fans specifically, but also so did the girls on their own time when they wanted to. So all it did was just bring more fucking promo, press, all of the above. It was so smart, and I cannot tell you what that does for a person's career. That's what happens when a label, and look, because that's what Nicki Minaj did with her Barbs. And I don't think the Fifth Harmony girls individually as solo artists understand that, but and it's unfortunate, but that is what you do have to invest. You do have to invest, because when the industry blackballs Nicki Minaj, her fans will still run it up and get her a #1 debut or a top 10 debut. You know? When Epic decided, oh, we're not going to give this last album nothing, we ran that shit up and got their last album to #4, which is the same peak as Reflection, which not only had, 3 hits, but one of them being damn near a top 10, and still a song that we hear on a regular basis over a decade later. So It's over a decade later? No, it's almost 8 years. So almost over a decade later. But genuinely, that is what you need, and that is what helped them succeed. I love that. I think every time I think of Fifth Harmony, and obviously I think everybody probably does, we think of that Judge's House performance. Because I think that changed everything. It in a way, and also it changed the trajectory of the show itself. Because I wasn't too interested in the show. I had literally just been following Normani specifically. And that's also the kind of the crazy part for me as well. Just watching her on screen and, singing duets with that boy, flipping her hair. Like, it just was all around a wholesome experience. But it was kind of drying out a bit for me because it wasn't American Idol. And I think after time went on and we got to that Judge's House performance, it really made the show more richer for me, because it was the first time that I think that I stopped in my tracks. When I heard Normani audition, I had chills. When I heard Lauren and Dinah, I had chills. And here's what I also want to say about them specifically. When I look at Lauren's X Factor performance, I kind of get sad. And let me tell you why. Because when the upper range, y'all, was so sabotaged. That upper range was just almost non-existent in Fifth Harmony until that last era. And when I look at Dinah, so much soul lost in her voice after being put into the group. When I look at Normani, so much soul and confidence and all of them lost once they went into that group, which is so crazy because we love Fifth Harmony. It's so iconic to us. It's something that we still talk about to this day. There's a podcast I'm talking about it on right now. Be so serious. You know what I mean? Obviously, we hear them say that it's a bittersweet thing. You know what I mean? They appreciate it for what it was, for sure. But it wasn't entirely a great experience for them. And that sucks when you look at something so fondly, but you also know the reality of it. I think a lot of us take that with a grain of salt. Truthfully, I think we do. It is so... y'all, it's so frustrating when you think about the fact that those girls really lost a part of themselves to try to fit into the mold of Fifth Harmony people. And we're going to get more into people not being on songs and whatnot, but people telling Dinah to change how she is as a singer. And you know what I mean? Like, or even having a session without a member or whatever the case may be. That sucks every time I think about it. So like every time I look at their X Factor performance, when I do see, that growl that Normani had, or, even more of that range that Lauren had before it was limited in the group, or that soul that Dinah had, that freedom in her voice that she had, like, everyone I feel like lost so much. I don't feel like Camila lost too much. I felt like Camila had she went through the same things that they did, so they're going to be able to relate in a lot of ways, but also in a lot of ways, Camila had a very privileged and different experience as well. There's no sense in lying about that. She definitely did. When it comes to Allie, I personally felt like that Allie gradually only got better. I don't see where Allie was, you know what I mean? I don't know if anybody else agrees, but I just don't see where Allie, I don't see where Allie didn't fit into the mold. And I guess it does make sense because when you listen to the girls about how, what songs they like, none of them like That's My Girl except for Allie. So it does seem like a lot of the songs that they have made did kind of fit Ali's mold. And she even kind of admits that to this day. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I think all of that pop music really does exist in each girl's career. But Ali specifically, it's like the most prevalent, probably. Like, when I think about from X Factor over to the first couple of performances of Work From Home, and she was on that lower register, and then she later kind of switched it up an octave a bit, you know what I mean? Like, she really switched how she was attacking her verse on Work From Home, and I just felt like throughout from X Factor to even now, Ali has just progressively gotten better. I don't feel like being in the group held up her I don't feel like it held up her talent. Now, here's what I will say. I'll say, okay, so I believe that Fifth Harmony, y'all, please don't, like, can we speak? Is this a safe space? Real quick. Y'all, OT3, DC3, OT4, right? We have our different, I guess, group arrangements that we like, right? Some people are OT5. I honestly love OT5 because, and here's why I love OT5 the most. The on-stage chemistry is insane for the performance factor overall. Aesthetically, the way that they transition and that they move, iconic. As for, I think vocally, they are so in tune. Performance-wise, I think it's the same thing. It's still the same. It's still just as good as with 5, but aesthetically, it doesn't look as good. Because maybe, you know, you have 4 people in a row, the 2 people in the middle, maybe the person's in the left is technically supposed to be the person that's quote-unquote in the middle, so the 3 around them are doing the choreography, so it doesn't necessarily look as aesthetically pleasing, but the performance factor overall is still there, but the vocals and the harmonies and the blend, that is just iconic. Camila she be a little bit too much in the harmonies and she has trouble blending. She works better as a solo artist. I think they all do, but I think the 4 girls have better chemistry as 4. So, but more than anything, I think Lauren, Dinah, and Normani have the most chemistry. I do. I think if those 3 would have been a group, they would have been, I just can't imagine a world where that group wouldn't have been at a number 1. The choreography, the vocals, the everything. The hypothetical of it all is literally like, bitch, whoa, the power. When I see that Everlasting Love video of them acoustically, you know, blending with those harmonies, and I'm like, y'all are fucking it. Y'all are it. And I've never felt that way about Fifth Harmony's vocals. Now, let me go ahead and say this. Fifth Harmony hasn't had bad vocals. And they sing down. Those mics are on. Those mics are on. And that's what people don't even talk about either. The fact that they be doing all of this on stage and their mics are on. They started out on a singing competition where they had no choice but their mics to be on. No choice. They had to sing down. Whether you was flat, whether you was sick, whether you had somebody that just passed, down. Okay, baby? And I think that, you know, people need to start recognizing that these girls are bringing the whole package. That's why people call them a supergroup. They are definitely a supergroup. But, you know, girl, look, we definitely have a lot to fucking get into. And this is really only the beginning. I'm laying out the groundwork for, you know, the direction we're really going to go in for this podcast. I'm talking about a couple different things right now. But, yo, overall, just looking back on the Fifth Harmony experience coming back from X Factor. Like, do y'all see what I mean by, like, when you look back on situations that you already know about, but when you have more context, you know, from the years after, it's like, well, this does make more sense. Shit look a bit different now. That's kind of how I'm feeling. I've been feeling like that for a very long time, and I think that that's what made me want to do this podcast. There's so much to talk about, and if you aren't a Fifth Harmony fan, you're not gonna understand. Nobody's doing a Fifth Harmony podcast, so if I don't, who the hell will? Be so serious. Y'all know I love me some girl groups. I love me some Fifth Harmony. Fifth Harmony is, look, Fifth Harmony is a group that has, for me personally, helped me through a lot of situations where I didn't think I would get through them, or I didn't feel like I could. Where I didn't feel like I could get up for class this morning because I'm depressed as hell just laying in my bed. Bitch, I turned on That's My Motherfucking Girl. I turned on, come on. Yep. And I was strutting my ass all the way to fucking class. Like, it's things like that. It's where you're in your room, depressed as hell, anxious or whatever, right? You in solitude. Let me pop on some Fifth Harmony. Let me go ahead and do my little concert. Like, Fifth Harmony makes you confident. They get you up out of your seat, out of your bed. They make you want to dance. They make you feel good, positive. You know what I mean? Like, they make you feel so good about yourself. And I think that Fifth Harmony has done that for me in a lot of situations. And a lot of people have kind of been like, they don't really understand, you know, why I like Fifth Harmony so much, or why I talked about them so much, or why I did anything in regards to Fifth Harmony as much as I did. But people really didn't understand the connection that I had to Fifth Harmony. I mean, for one, I am a dancer. So when it comes to music that involves dancing, and then you add some substance on top of that, it's just the perfect combination for me. It absolutely is. I think that Fifth Harmony really provided a space for us to be ourselves. You know, it created a community where you could genuinely be free in your experience and not be judged. Harmonizers didn't judge your ass. They didn't. When you go to a Fifth Harmony concert, not a thing in the world matters. Harmonizers love you down. The support is down. Do you know how many people I've met at Fifth Harmony concerts? How many people that I've met that were at the same Fifth Harmony concert years later and we didn't know it? You know, Fifth Harmony really brought people together. Like, I have some of the best friends that I do because of standing Fifth Harmony. A lot of people say, oh, well, this is surface level and blah, blah, blah. Bitch, I know this is surface level. But do you hear this beat? I'm up. I'm throwing ass. I'm saying that's my girl. I've been down before. I've been hurt before. I got up before. And I'm going to be good to motherfucking go while I'm dancing. This is overall changing my motherfucking attitude right now. So you may not have to get it, but I do, and a lot of people do. So Fifth Harmony was very representative of a lot of people who were afraid to be themselves in their experience. So go them. They ate that the fuck down. Fifth Harmony will live on forever. And I know people don't want to admit that, but again, and I'll say this a billion times, I said this on my Normani podcast, when Fifth Harmony left, they took the mainstream with him. And I don't really want to hear shit, because any girl group, period, especially now or during their time, wanted to break the US. They wanted to break the US, and they wanted to get a hit. Who really did that? Little Mix came close. They got a couple Billboard Hot 100s, maybe about 3 or 4, I want to say. Actually, maybe about 3. I think it's less than 3. It's 3 or less, I want to say. I think it was Shout Out to My Ex, Wings, and I think one more, but I'm not sure which one that is. But who else? Who else? Like, be so fucking for real. Who else? There's nobody in a girl group setting that's popping off in mainstream, topping pop radio, getting top 5s in a Billboard Hot 100, having songs that are lasting over 10 years that people can still remember when they hear it the second it comes on. Like, be so fucking for real here. So stop sleeping on the impact that these girls have. You can call them messy and blah, 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 blah if you want to. But the one thing that I don't like is when people call Fifth Harmony messy or like they hated each other or blah, 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 blah. Because they don't like to add context to that. And they let these narratives just run off on social media. And unfortunately, people do believe that because they don't know Fifth Harmony and nor do they care to actually go look it up. So they're going to probably believe what they see. It's definitely impressionable. But I just do not like to see people say that about Fifth Harmony because it's like, you know why they were being messy on stage. You know that they've been doing 4, 5, 6 tours in a row. And when they're not on tour, they're doing an album cycle or single runs. They're missing funerals to be at, these concerts, these tours, and they're having to go up on stage and put smiles on their faces every day while they're anxious and depressed as hell while not getting paid for the work they're doing. So don't sit up here and say that Fifth Harmony was the quote-unquote messiest girl group without mentioning that these girls had the lives sucked out of them. Because how do you expect anybody who has the life sucked out of them to go up on stage and to act like this product and this figure for you to feel good about yourself, for other people to make money? That's crazy. That's crazy. And I also don't like, and I'm going to talk about a lot of the Fifth Harmony memes actually, so I'm not going to bring what I was just going to bring up yet, but I'm not, because I'm going to save that. And I'm going to drag some bitches, but I'm going to hold off on it. But like, I just don't like seeing moments of them in distress or moments of them where they had to survive in their experience being used against them. They didn't hate each other. Even with Camila leaving, they didn't hate each other. They always had a genuine friendship. They always had a genuine unit. It was the people surrounding them, these labels. They had to go in studios and they had to essentially battle for verses. You know what I mean? They had to be in competition with each other to get an opportunity. It was almost like they had to go through the music industry within their own fucking group. Like, you got to deal with that within the group, and you already got to deal with that outside the group, because hello, if a label not feeling it, that shit getting shelved. So anyway, oh my goodness, y'all. And I'm going to get more into, I think I'm going to focus the next episode probably on Epic Records. So by the time the second episode of this season comes out, there will be a schedule, probably 3 episodes in advance, about what each episode will be about. I do want to get some harmonizers on at least about 2 episodes and chat it up, get experiences and all that stuff, and just make this podcast a space for us to really reminisce, talk about everything, and if you want to see or hear me talk about something, use my hashtag #ThatSoDev, and I will see it, girl. Ain't nobody using it, so trust me, I will see it, and I will discuss whatever it is that you would like to hear me talk about, because chances are I'm probably gonna go there anyway, but you know what I mean. I like to hear from the people, all right, y'all? Now, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this podcast up, because this is really just the intro. Like I said, I laid down the groundwork on this podcast. Y'all know what direction we going into. We got a cute little intro going. I love that for us, y'all. Now, make sure you go ahead and stream Fifth Harmony, because they really that bitch. Make sure you go ahead and follow me on all social medias. Yep, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, girl, YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe. I love that for you. I appreciate you for listening. Drink some water, eat some good food, take care of yourself. Self-care is important. Please put that at the top of your list. There's a lot going on in this world, and girl, take care of yourselves. We got to prioritize that. All right? Now, I'm hopping off here. I appreciate y'all, and I will be back on the next episode of Keeping Up with Fifth Harmony. I'm out here, y'all. Peace.